So, good evening, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to bring to you this new initiative from the Learning Management Group of the ICF Mumbai Charter Chapter. This has been a brainchild of Shweta, and we've really been very fortunate to have all of you come in and consult and tell us what this should look like. So we're really excited, and books, especially, I think, are very dear to us, and it's another very important form of knowledge and learning for all of us. And what better could it be when we have initiative of a book club for coaches by coaches, and it's also called Peak a Book, launching today. So I'm really excited to have you all with us in this momentous moment for us to really launch this new initiative for all of us. Having said that, I would like to really start by saying that the real christening of this initiative itself, we had done a consultation and asked everybody to kind of tell us what could be the most appropriate name for this initiative, and we came up with Peak a Book. And I'm very glad to announce that it is Gaurang Bhatt himself, who is the presenter for today, actually christened this initiative as Peak a Book. So we're really grateful to you, Gaurang, having done this. And you will receive a little surprise from us in the coming days. So watch out for that. And with that gratitude, I would really like to acknowledge Shweta Sivaraman, who's the member of the learning management team, to have really worked so hard to come and put this initiative together. With that, over to you, Shweta. This pretty much is your baby, and I would like you to take it on from here.
Right, it's all our babies together.
Yeah.
But super psyched to actually host this. I mean, I've learned a lot personally from books, so it's really amazing to have a platform where we can actually create a space for discussing books and exchanging takeaways to basically enhance our coaching knowledge and abilities and be greater professionals overall, right? So without wasting too much time, I'm going to quickly introduce our presenter of the month, who not only gave the name for our book club, but also willingly accepted to be the first presenter in our book club here. So today, Gaurang is going to be talking about deep work. Gaurang is a transformation coach in the making who's pursuing his ACC certification at the moment. He's been a seasoned Bombay-based IT and business service professional with 17 years of experience and is currently working with a tech company in a strategy and a product management role. So he's a practitioner of the whole life growth approach and is a keen student of spirituality. He loves to read, learn, and apply Eastern and Western philosophical self-growth approaches in life. And he focuses on full spectrum living. And when he's away from his work or his passion, he loves to spend his time in nature and explore life with his wife and 2 kids. So that's Gaurang here. Thank you so much, Gaurang, for consenting to be the first presenter for our Peak a Book Club. Over to you to get started on the takeaways from deep work.
Yeah, thank you, Shweta, and thank you, Anuradha, and thank you everyone who has joined today. And it is my pleasure indeed to be part of a group which is actually focusing on learning and management of all of us, like the coaches. And as Shweta has put it out, like I always try to learn from the book, not in terms of the theories and concepts, but how we can apply in life. So today's my endeavor will be to talk about the book, which is basically a very famous book, and the book is called Deep Work, as you all know it. And I think it helps you to get some more insights about the book. And after getting those insights, you will buy the book and read the book, because that is a real pleasure. You can have it from any valuable book, basically. So yeah, can you see my screen? Yeah, and you can hear me right as well. So okay, so I'll start the book review right now. As we all know, we are going to talk about today a very famous book, basically, which is about how we can leverage the time available to us by changing the way we do our work. Work is an integral part of our life, but we also want to make our life easier and not busier. So there are many distractions in this digital world. In such times, it's very challenging to remain productive at the highest level. But an author called Calvin Newport, he is 39 years of age, and he's a very famous person from Georgetown University. He's a professor in computer science. He himself is always deep into his work, and he wrote this book, which is a self-improvement book. He's an author of such books. He also writes a blog called Study Hacks, so helps students and professionals in terms of being more productive, being more happy in life. And he has written this book to help all of us, and it is really very helpful book in this sense because it helps us in two areas: success as well as happiness. So initially when he starts in the book, he talks about many examples in the real life from the Western world. But as a reader, I being into a lot of Eastern philosophy and ancient scriptures, I also remembered one such example of deep work, which I would like to share. And it is about basically a 10th century scholar named as Vachaspati Mishra. And he started writing a scripture basically on Brahma Sutra, and he wrote it for continuously for 6 years, and after 6 years, basically when he just finished his book and some lady came to give him a drink, then he looked at him and he looked at her and asked, "Who are you?" And basically that lady was his wife, and he completely forgot the world around him, his wife herself, and he was totally engrossed into the book, the creation of the scripture. And then he felt guilty and named the scripture Bhamati, name of his wife. That's an example which tells me that since ancient time, this has been our strength to immerse ourselves into work, to create a quality of the work, qualitative work. And we also remember many such examples of students who studied, and this is a famous photo on WhatsApp, a student from Chennai University who is studying like a tapasya he's doing, and totally embraced into the reading so that he doesn't wake up from the chair. So with this such kind of a bit light-hearted moment, I would like to talk about some examples which the author talks about. And one such example is of a Carl Jung, a famous philosopher, who, when after visiting India, built a Burlington Tower, and there he started spending more time for research. He reduced his lectures, being a professor. Then he was able to come up with astonishing concepts or approaches in philosophy and psychology. So another such examples are example of a Hollywood filmmaker, Woody Allen, who produced 44 films in 44 years, 50% won Academy Awards, and he would be the person who would be not, he would be remaining away from the social media. And then Adam Grant, a professor like Carl, who is also a very famous professor, and he would only teach in the semester, one semester, that is a fall semester, and all other winter semester and all, he will spend time in researching and writing the books. Even J.K. Rowling, famous writer for Harry Potter, she stayed away from Twitter just to complete the books about Harry Potter's. And during the last book of her series, she in fact went to a luxury hotel and she wrote the entire book from that hotel. So even though many of us may not have that luxury, but we definitely can give it a thought, because such claimants are proposing us basically that deep work should be followed in the life. So I hope all are with me till now. So basically the flow of the book, just I would, for your acknowledgement, that the book starts with the idea first about the deep work. It gives the hypothesis, which if can be proven true and can be proven wrong, but the author goes on and proves the hypothesis right, that deep work is very valuable, very rare, but very meaningful. And then in the second part, the author explains what are some strategies or rules we can follow in life to imbibe that deep work into our life. And as I said, the famous personalities are basically the claimants of this approach. Then the author also explains the idea of shallow work and deep work. And then he guides us to basically become more productive rather than being more busy. And the 4 disciplines of execution, which is another book actually, 4DX rule, he applies into this deep work and how we can follow this 4 discipline to easily imbibe this in our life. So I will talk about those 4 approaches to deep work as I go ahead. But if you have to start that, what is a book all about in one sentence? Basically, the book says that we have lost our ability to focus deeply in complex tasks. We are so distracted by digital world. We are so distracted by social media, social networks, and all these websites, emails, and our engagements with the people, that we are not able to cultivate the skill to create complex and quality tasks or quality work or quality outcome. And we can do it. There are only 4 simple rules required. We are now suffering from a time span challenge, attention span challenge, which is reduced from 12 to 8 seconds now, and it is less than a goldfish's attention span. But we can increase it if we purposefully create an environment around it where we can do deep analysis, where we can have uninterrupted time to have more creativity around us. From within, we can have more creative juices flowing down, in such environment, and we can have an outcome which will not only help us to achieve success, but help the humanity or the world around us. So, but we need to develop a skill or ability for that, and which will help us to quickly master any complicated information for the same, because world has also become complex. Okay. So they say that deep work is now become the superpower, and only those rare people who possess this deep work superpower are at the top of the chain. They are at the top of the success. They are getting all the money. They are attracting all the fame, because during the whole time when they came up with their outcome or the achievement, they were doing the deep work. So deep work is all related to our work, any professional activity which we do in distraction-free environment with full concentration, which raises our cognitive capabilities, because any kind of output or work is related to our brain or cognitive ability. And we need not to have any distraction to do it in a best way. But there is always a shallow work in every day of our tasks. We have shallow work like checking emails, doing the admin tasks. Even our coaching business also involves lot many admin tasks. We know that. Even a school principal or school teachers also have a lot of shallow work which they need to do. So any employer also need to follow certain day-to-day emergency tasks, which are all basically shallow work tasks actually. And they are such as easy tasks that they can be automated or they can be replicated by anyone. But while doing shallow work more and more, we are not able to devote time to deep work, and we are losing that quality. And the law of evolution says that once you start losing that quality, the humanity itself will suffer because of this. So it's a problem which we are all facing, and which we are facing because of all these network tools. And that the result is widespread fragmented attention. That attention needs to be brought together. We need to be engrossing ourselves into deep work. And the simple rule, or my first takeaway from the book, is that we need to minimize the shallow work and we need to maximize the deep work. So here I have explained some examples of shallow work. Basically, as I told, all routine tasks, replying to emails, attending meetings, these are all shallow work. We need to minimize them daily, weekly, monthly, annually. And deep work is the work which is challenging, but where we need to be focused, one thing at a time, no distractions. So any work which is related to building your new coaching program or having a strategy presentation, any research task, writing a book, writing a blog, solving a complex problem, it all falls in deep work. Why this deep work is valuable is my second takeaway from the book. So the author says that for any quality output, you need two things. One is the intense concentration, which is basically how deep work helps, because more you spend time, undistracted time on any work, there is a hormone which is called myelin, or substance in our brain, which gets fired. Whenever we learn, whenever we engross ourselves into a concentrated effort, we are learning a new concept, a new skill, and more this substance is fired, basically our brain becomes more powerful. It strengthens the connections, it makes brain efficient, and that's where the intense concentration helps. And the second part is a deliberate practice. So it's not just one time you need to learn. You need to understand your entire goal. You need to understand the task or a skill which you need to learn. You need to divide them into various batches or parts of it. Then work on each such complex task. For the more and more focused time you work on that part, you will become expert at it. Your efficiency will slowly increase, and you will have that learning curve which will help you to achieve your goal. And in today's time, if you can't learn, you can't thrive. Similarly, you can't produce. So just learning is not enough. To produce, you need to do the deliberate practice. And that's where the deep work helps you. Not only to learn, but also to produce an output, to produce a quality output, to create something. Deep work is more valuable, in fact. And the new rule of productivity is not the more amount of time spent, but the time spent with the higher intensity of focus will result in high quality work produced in a more quantity. So this law of productivity is basically the key principle of deep work, that you need to spend more and more time in deep work. But the paradox is that deep work is becoming rare, as I told you. And to learn and master hard things and to produce at a very top level, you need this deep work. So all those people who are able to practice this are rare in the world. And that's where they demand the premium, because their efforts create new value. It is their USP. It improves their skill, and their skills are hard to replicate. Someone coming with a quality book is not easily replicable, right? It's called plagiarism. Someone coming with a totally different film is not easily replicable. Even if replicated, it doesn't get that success. So the shallow work cannot create a quality outcome or a amazing, excellent, creative output. And that's why my takeaway from the book is that basically we should develop this ability. Then only we will have more rewards by doing less. It's not more amount of the work we do, but the lesser amount of a quality work, a creative work, or an amazing work, which will give us more success in life. And lastly, why this deep work is meaningful for all of us, even though there are many coaches here who are not into that corporate rat race, or they're not continuously following the ambitious target of an organization. But this deep work also will help us in our life. It will rebuild our life in such a way that where we are focusing a quality of the time for quality of the work. So we will be able to reach our full potential. We will be away from the distractions. So we'll be able to give time to our family, our own rejuvenation. Life will become easy. And then we will have more time for our future goals or life goals. So my takeaway from the book is that basically I should develop this ability to reap rewards by living good life. So these three takeaway basically talk about this hypothesis which author has put so far, that deep work is basically your ability to perform deep work. It is becoming rare. So you focus on it. It is becoming valuable. So you try to imbibe it. As a consequence, you will be part of that league of extraordinary superheroes who have this skill at their hand. And then you make it core of your working life. Then you will be able to thrive in this world. Then you will be able to really be successful as well as happy. So, and then my fifth takeaway basically is around the second part of the book. What should be my strategy? Okay, I've understood the philosophy that deep work is very important. So author explains 4 simple approaches to do the deep work, because every one of us is not, even though we are in the same storm, we are not in the same boat. So everyone's situation is different. So, but each one of us can adopt any one of the approach to imbibe deep work. So deep work can work for all basically. Then the second part is we should make it a habit. Like we do with our coaches, we are not only doing something as a coach, but we are trying to be a coach with them. How they can focus on their being, which is able to help them their best potential. Similarly, if deep work is imbibed as a habit, then only it will be part of our being. And then also we should be very professional about it. So there are rules, how to execute it every day, every month, every year. And then finally, be alert about distractions. Do something on these digital distractions, and you can have multiplier effects of this learned deep work by focusing on the downtime in your life or shutdown part of your life. So I will talk to you on that when it comes as a slide. But let me tell you the 4 basic approaches to deep work first. The first one is a monastic approach. So monastic approaches can be followed easily by a monk, because the persons who are like completely into qualitative creative work, they can every day be in that stage of deep work, in that zone where they are continuously producing outputs. So the researchers, the authors, or those people who are totally into R&D kind of a thing, they can follow this monastic approach. For some other people, bimodal approach can work. So what you do in the bimodal approach is basically you divide your entire year or period into doing some shallow work or doing some routine work, delivering your duties, work responsibilities, and then other days of the year or months of the year, you focus on creative aspect or doing that qualitative aspect, doing the complex research aspect. And there are many authors, professors, programmers who do like this. The many writers also do like this. Filmmakers also do like this. They go to a separate location to write the book or to film or to write the script of the book. The authors also do this approach. The rhythmic approach is for the people who are common people or who are basically leaders who are working in organization, they can follow rhythmic approach, so that specific day in a week or certain week in a month, they follow this rhythmic approach. So Bill Gates, one of the claimant, has a think week in an entire year. So for 1 week, he cannot be contacted. He's do not disturb mode. He just spends time entire week on thinking and strategizing about his organization, his future plans, what he wants to bring to the world and all. And this think week basically fuels him for the entire year. So this rhythmic approach is also very useful. And the last one is journalistic. You have become so adaptive or enlivened basically, or dynamic, that whenever you get an opportunity in the fast life, you are able to follow 30 minutes, 20 minutes for the deep work. So with these 4 approaches, I would like to just pause for a minute and ask you all that which one suits you. So I already have some answers coming. One answer is that looks like for all solopreneurs, the last approach might be the best. Yeah. But the last approach is also not very easy to build in, because multitasking, as someone told, it is a myth, but we are all trapped into that. And switching requires some techniques. So there are some techniques like Pomodoro techniques, and there are some other techniques which you imbibe in your day-to-day schedule. You can even follow journalistic approach. Yeah. So I am getting answers like bimodal, rhythmic. So yeah. And in the life, you can reach a stage where you are completely following the first approach, the monastic approach, basically. Yeah. Thanks for your answers.
Gaurang, my question is, can it not be a mix of all depending on the task at hand? Sometimes you could be a monastic and sometimes you could be bimodal depending on the task.
Yeah. So at different times it can be, but when you are practicing, you should follow a particular approach for some reasonable time so that you gain a mastery at it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. So I'll move on basically from this slide, move away from this slide. 1 minute, my slide has frozen, I think. Yeah. So now moving on to the another strategy, how to make it a habit, basically. So very beautifully, the author explains that you have to build an environment. You have to follow craftsman approach. You have to craft an environment around you. It is not only important to give some time to the deep work, but where you are going to do it. So you need to select a bunker where you will do the deep work. It can be a room with a headphone. It can be an office room, or it can be a cabin also, or you go to a different building also at a particular point of time. Then the duration around which you will do it. And then structure, give it a structure. What I need for my support, what I will do during that deep work, what target I will have to complete at the end of the deep work. You have to be very thoughtful around it. Once you do it, basically, that my phone will be at silent mode. I will have my lunch together. I'll not wait. I will not get up from the chair. And all those things which you need to plan. And have a support from your friends and families around it, basically, so that people are aware that you should not be disturbed. Another very important part of it is with bunker is a block. So you need to batch such tasks together and you need to have them in the block, like checking an email at a particular time, assigning activities to basically each block, what I will do during that time. That will help you. And you also need to keep some buffer time because emergencies will always come. And you need to celebrate it also. That, okay, for this goal or this project, I was able to follow the deep work. And if you're not able to do it, just declare that, okay, for 1 month, I will be away from social media, or for next 7 days, I'm going to a place where I'm going to do a deep work, very, very spontaneous. So bringing a radical change in your environment also is okay, unless you are able to practice this deep work, basically. And that will give you a variety also in your routine life, and you will be imbibing the deep work. And once you get introduced to it, you test it, you have a flavor of it, then you follow it like a proper business, So you need to think about your goals. Let's say we all have coaches here. Many of us, we have a goal, and even our coaches also have a goal. So we need to focus on our widely important goal in life, our purpose, our mission or meaning, or a goal or a target, and then make it a part of deep work. And another very interesting thing which the author tells is basically not only have a focus on your lag measures, which is basically the final goals, but what you decide about the deep work, call it as a lead measure, and you keep it as a goal. Your lead measures is, so one example of a lag is, I want to complete a book, or I want to introduce a new coaching program. What you will do in your deep work becomes your lead measure. I will write 5 pages, or I will spend 30 minutes writing, or I will divide my coaching program in one sections, and one section I will work for this month. I need to complete it by 1 month. That are called lead measures. So following lead measures is more beneficial in such environment. And then you keep a scorecard. Like in our co-creation of a plan, we have a scorecard, how we are tracking it, whether we are achieving our daily, weekly, monthly targets on deep work. And then once it becomes, have someone to have a accountability buddy when you are trying to imbibe a deep work. Okay. And not to forget, you should remove all the digital distractions. So this is a very important section of the book, which is kind of a challenging for few of us, those who are always into digital media and networking, that your focus should become your default work. Whenever required, you have a time for shallow work. That time only you need to do shallow work. Then there should be a self-imposed time limit. It should be so challenging for you to do deep work that it challenges you, it stretches your ability. You need to embrace the boredom also to do that. There will be an urge to go to social media. There will be justifications also, but you need to do it. It is okay to get bored, but not to fall into the trap of social media when you are free. Instead, use it for your goal. Instead, use it for your deep work. That's what the author basically suggests. Try to ban your social media for some time to test yourself. Follow only those social media which are bringing some usefulness into your life. Okay. And instead of falling into the trap of internet and entertainment, follow that entertainment, which is again very high quality, which rejuvenates you, like going for a meditation or going for a nature walk, something like that. And that for that, author talks about downtime as a tool which can enhance your efforts for the deep work. So you need to close your work day at the same time. You need to follow a shutdown ritual. So maybe some shallow work you can do at the end of the day during the evening where your energy is anyway down. Okay. And the rest or a sleep part or your leisure time is also as important as the deep work, because it recharges you for your deep work, which is going to come. And there should be a limit for doing the deep work every day also, for people like us who are not following monastic approach, that at a day, maximum 4 hours in deep work will drain your energy also. So recharging yourself becomes more important. And a very interesting concept is, apart from the mindfulness meditation where we don't do anything, doing nothing, even you can use it for the productive purpose. So you make a part of your deep work that I will go to a solo nature walk where I will think about my problem. How should I strategize? What are some solutions which can appear? If you do this kind of a productive meditation, which helps you to deeply think about your problem, that is also part of the deep work. It is a productive use of unproductive time, which is very, very helpful to embrace deep work in your life. Yeah. So I'm getting some feedback that some people have already embraced this and in their exam, and they're sharing their example, which is very, very inspiring. So when writing a book, Parinita says that I followed these methods. Yeah. And somebody's recollecting Robin Sharma's terms, also strategic time blocking. Yes, time blocking and bunker concepts have been covered in various other books as well. Okay. So yeah. Now coming to I'm just summarize the strategy, which when I share the presentation, you can go through this, how to practice it, how to enhance the ability, how to eliminate the distraction, and how to drain shallow from your work. So shallow work from your life. It's not easy to remove it, but slowly and gradually you should reach a stage where you have delegated the shallow work or automated the shallow work. That is the focus of the book, basically. Okay. Again, slide is frozen. Okay. So there are some quotes which I have mentioned when I'm reaching the end of the presentation, and sorry, just I'm taking 2-3 minutes of your time. So Shweta, is it fine?
Yeah, Gaurang, we have another 5-10 minutes easily. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so there are some amazing quotes coming out of these books, and you can go onto the internet and there are many blogs written even by author himself. He runs a live blog and live website on this deep work, how to imbibe it, and many people have got inspired from this book. The hypothesis of deep work itself is basically very powerful because it challenges, and it says that this is a very rare thing now around us. So the few who cultivates this skill and make it part of their life are going to be amazingly successful. And then another aspect is, which is alarming, is we need to wage a war against distraction, and if you're saying no to distraction is as much as important as saying no to anyone other person also, that I will not be able to take this work. And that will give us time to say yes to the deep work, basically. Okay. And if you don't produce, you won't thrive, basically. So it's a matter of survival, no matter how skilled or talented you are, because things are changing very fast. And if you want to remain valuable, you need to master this art where you quickly learn something which is complicated, practice in your life, and move on to the other thing. And to do that, basically, the focusing intensely without distraction, all three is required: intensity, focus, and distraction. Then you will have an output which will be like a qualitative craft, where you will be honing your ability. You will be applying it in your life, helping others. So the deep work is basically then becomes a fuel of your life. And the result will also, it will make you happy because you will have less clutter around you. You will have more mental resources. So you need to think like an artist, but work like an accountant. An accountant has that discipline of following the rules. That's where the rules of the book we need to follow. More we follow the rules diligently, then we will be able to have a outcome of an artist. And yes, don't forget that resting your brain is also important. So not doing anything or doing deep thinking also is a deep work, and it's not a shallow work. That was basically a revolution to me. So yeah, as I think we are having a session with us as a coaches, it is very important to ponder on what we have heard and what we have read. So I also did this exercise to relate it to our coaching profession. And as I have given some examples, this concept of time block and bunker helps me basically as a coach to do my coaching work, because otherwise I'm working for an edtech, I'm working for technology company. I do a lot of admin tasks or manual tasks. But whenever I do coaching, I feel I get relaxed, I get rejuvenated. So I need to have a slotted time for my coaching every week. And I should have a target around it. That's what I learned from the book. And more creative I want to be in my approach, more lesser shallow work will help me. I will have more ideas, quality ideas. It will help me to bring that well-being, have that well-being in my life, because of which I have chosen the coaching profession, basically. And in my sessions with my client, I will be having complete coaching presence, because that 1 hour itself is a deep work for a coachee, right? And for me. And when I'm co-creating a plan with coachee, I think I should follow some concepts of deep work, and that will share with my client, or just give it a hint around it. And then the result will be basically me and my coachee both will be on the path of becoming a superhero who is having that superpower imbibed in their life called deep work. So with this, I would like to take a pause and ask you some questions. Any one of the questions you may answer by talking or chatting.
Gaurang, sorry to interrupt you. Just there are some questions in the chat box. Before
Sure.
you go into the reflective questions, maybe you could address that first.
Sure.
So
I'm looking at the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a question that Shripad asked in the beginning of the conversation. I'm just reading that. Hold on. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So, wondering aloud how this book and its thesis compares with Dan Kahneman's book on fast and slow thinking. Sounds like many commonalities. If you've read the other book also and would like to comment.
No, I have unfortunately I have not read that book. But
No
maybe...
worries. Anybody here who would like to share? I mean, if any of you have seen any similarities, or we move on to the next question. Right. The other question was from Sarita, and her question was that is deep work deeply related to our body rhythms?
Yeah, so a book does not touch apart from that evening time and morning time. It talks about the energy, and where you should do deep work is basically where you have more energy and more ideas. So it talks about protecting yourself more. That's why it talks about the specific location. So, and when it talks about the productive meditation, the focus is on doing physically the things which are like a meditation, but mentally you are continuously thinking about your problem. So that's where the bodily or physical aspect comes. Yeah, I hope I have answered the question.
Perfect. There's one more question on, is there any mention about perfectionists and their attempts to practice deep work in the book?
No, that perfectionism has some challenges. I don't think so. Book brings out the challenges around it. In fact, book I think indirectly tells us that how to achieve perfectionism without focusing on perfectionism. Because it talks about distraction-less, quality-focused time. So very interesting example book mentions about a professor in one of the universities where they will sit in a room and they will keep a blank board against them, and they will be continuously staring at the whiteboard for longer period of time until the idea comes from their mind. That's where they are. I don't think they are achieving striving for perfectionism. They are so selflessly, for the sake of thinking or for the sake of researching, they are spending so much of their concentrated effort around that particular activity of deep work that the final outcome automatically comes with themselves first and then others. Yeah.
You
Okay,
know, put me in deep thought, Gaurang and Pradeep, with the comments on this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Gaurang, if I may request you to, if you could remove the slides for when people are asking questions. Yeah, because it's a small group, we can all come on camera and we can speak and
Yeah. Even
interact.
I realized it. Sorry, I was also engrossed in the questions.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Shripad has his hands raised. Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on the perfectionism question by Sarita, because there's something I was reading elsewhere. I don't remember the book. But what I noticed as a connection here, Gaurang, is that here you're saying, he's saying focus on the lead measures and not on the lag measures.
Lag measures, yeah.
So perfectionism is where you focus on the lag measures, to my mind, and you're getting very anxious because the lag measures are not working out. You're not achieved the outcomes. But this is focusing on immersing yourself using the lead. So to that extent, it's actually going away and more healthy than perfectionism. That's the thought that came to me. I don't know if that is how the book says.
Yeah, even I was relating to the concepts which he has shared, and you are right. He doesn't focus on the outcomes or the results, but he is very much confident that you will achieve all those outcomes if you follow it diligently or religiously. Yeah.
So I've read about 3/4 of the book, but so I think when I was hearing you, Gaurang, I think something came to my mind that talks about do your work and then don't worry about the lag measures. Somewhere down the line, the Gita Updesh came to me that karam pe dhyan rakho, don't bother about the outcome. So yeah, so that also is kind of quite relevant with this book, that he really says that focus on what is it that you are expected to do and do it, rather than think about everything else in the environment and all of that. So yeah, I think quite relevant, and thanks so much for presenting this.
Yeah, and it takes so much courage to follow. So the famous people who have followed this, it takes so much courage for them, but they have so believed in themselves, their abilities, and what they wanted to achieve, so that they could took that risk and completely immerse themselves into their work. So it's obviously not thinking about anything else than their work, which they love.
Any further questions, Shweta, or should we move on to the next?
No, we can go to the reflective questions and open up the conversation. There are no questions in the chat box. There is a question that someone asked, Gaurang, how many times have you read the book? Because they're finding it so insightful in terms of the takeaways that you pulled out. There's a question asking how many times you've actually read the book.
Yeah, so I only read a book, and that also I think 8-10 months before, almost a year ago. And because of this book review, I again read the first 3-4 rules, glanced to my notes, basically, underlying the notes. And then what did I did at that time? After reading the book, I went to few YouTube summaries, and I have created some notes from the blogs of the other people who have done some more research on this deep work. So, and those notes I keep on referring. So those notes I referred before the session last week. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's very useful in terms of the depth of the insights that you're sharing.
Yeah.
Over to you, Gaurang. You can go into the reflective questions if you want to open up the conversation.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go to the slide, basically, where I've put some questions and anyone can answer those. That will help.
Yes, and I think please feel free to just share your thoughts with Gaurang and have a conversation. There's no strict formality here in terms of how we'd like to have the conversation. So it could just be thoughts, something that you've read in other books. You can feel free to share, exchange insights now.
Yeah. Anything which stayed with you also from the book, which you find easy to implement, difficult to implement, or something which you could relate, like some other people have related it with other ideas as well.
Gaurang, I like the term productive meditation.
Yeah.
It's very profound if you just think about it, you know.
Yeah.
I've never looked at meditation as being productive. I just looked at it as something that relaxes your mind. But when you start thinking deeply, that's what it actually does. So,
Agree.
yeah.
And it so author mentioned some other examples also, like when you are showering, when you are taking shower, or when you are jogging, where you are basically solo. And at that time, these kind of productive meditation moments are very useful. Yeah, very right.
While everyone else is thinking, so what I have actually put into practice, Gaurang, is the time blocking piece, and then actually doing the most difficult task first thing in the morning, because I think I have most energy and clarity in the first thing, doing things first thing in the morning. So I typically block a period of 10 to 12 noon for self work. So that's something that I've started following. And I think have simultaneously read this other book called The One Thing,
Yeah.
which also talks about, and that's where I think I commented also in the thing about multitasking. So I used to feel multitasking is a good thing, and that, it's a badge of honor to say that I can multitask. But what I've really realized, that multitasking actually is a drain on energy and focus, rather than really getting work to be done in a productive way. So yeah, I think I have taken that in account with these latest few weeks that I have.
Yeah. So Anuradha, that reminds me what I have also dropped since last 8-10 months. So I have moved the discussion meetings after lunch, because after lunch we feel so dizzy. Then I have not started looking at each and every email into details. Many emails from the subject line also have left, and I found that they have not harmed me basically. So just I had to be mindful about those. And some tasks I have moved to the evening time, where my energy is drained. So these are the three things which I'm still doing. They have become a habit. Then other things is blocking deep work. As someone told very rightly, that mix of all the 4 approaches I have been following at different time, because some periods are very busy for us, that we are not able to do the deep work. But instead of being guilty about it, whenever you get the chance, you do the deep work which you missed. That's what helped me.
Right. I think
everybody has seen the questions. Maybe Gaurang, you can again stop the share if that's okay, or maybe we can put the questions in the chat for people to reflect upon.
Yeah.
We're a small group here, and we purposefully kept it this way. So feel free to kind of unmute yourself, come on camera, and we can share. We also have a brief feedback poll that we would all expect you to answer. So while you're thinking about your insights or questions, is it okay for me to launch that? So I'm launching the poll. So if I will really look for, because this is our first session of this initiative, and we really like to get your inputs to co-create and make this better for us going forward. So we'd really appreciate if you could take a couple of minutes and answer the poll questions, and feel free to continue to interact and share your thoughts on this book or anything that you picked up today.
so. I think
can
for me, I'll
everyone see
start
the
while
poll?
everybody. Yes, I can.
Yeah. So please take a moment and answer these questions, please, because your feedback is so important for us to take things and make things better going forward. Yes, sorry, Shweta, please go ahead.
I was just thinking of sharing what the most important idea for me from the book was. So I think even I read it about a year ago, and the biggest thing was about batching shallow tasks together. I think because of WhatsApp on work and everything that is like intrusive in terms of information flow coming to us, we are always responding to other people's agenda when we are on the flow, right? So really trying to say, how can you batch the responses on social media? How can you batch email responses? And then carve out that time wherein your uninterrupted work happens on multiple slots. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me. The most difficult thing to implement, of course, in the book is social media distraction. I don't know if anybody else faces that, but that is a little hard to curb.
Yeah, and for that, what I did, I uninstalled some useless apps, and I'm now following some useful apps like meditation apps. So when I want to go to the mobile phone, I will try to at least go to that useful app more.
True.
But I've also discovered there are some apps which help you stay away from
Yeah,
social media. So when I'm reading, then there's an app called Forest. So I don't know if you've seen that. So you are so if you say I want to kind of read for 30 minutes, so you put on that Forest app, it automatically closes all your other apps. You can't be distracted by any notification which comes. And in case you stop, if you look at your phone within those 30 minutes that you're wanting to kind of, then your forest, the plants that you're trying to grow in the forest die. So so you have to be, yeah, so those are some ways, but yes, keeping the phone away is quite a challenge.
So rather, we are using social media to keep away from social media.
Yes, yes.
Right? I mean, it's the same like the mobile phones are now coming up with those, focus options that you can
Yes.
use. Do not disturb or personal or work or something.
Correct.
Recognizing the
Correct.
fact that there is a blurred line between, other myths we talk about work-life balance.
Correct, correct. So there are also timers that you can put for your different apps.
Yeah.
So if I put say 15 minutes for Instagram, if I used it up to 15 minutes, then it blocks it for the next day. So those are also.
Gaurang, you should look at an offsite with all of us to a place where there are no signals at all.
Can I share a very simple thing that I do for my
Yes,
social
yes,
media
please.
distractions?
Sure,
So
sure.
I don't take care of any technological things to take care of the distractions, because the distractions is not in the media, it is there in our mind, and it's about training us. So the way I have worked around with that is very clear. Instagram, Facebook, for example, I'll view it only once a week, and that will be on Saturday, Sundays. Even if I want to do updates, I do it only on those days. LinkedIn, I usually keep maybe a Wednesday to take care of it, and that also for an hour. For that 1 hour, I will be concentrated on that particular social media app and just do what I have to do. And believe me, it really helps. So there is nothing like, and of course, the notifications are off during the other times because they take a lot of your efforts. Yeah, FB may not work, FB notifications may not work because Zuckerberg has made it in such a manner that with every update, it overrules your notification settings and
Yeah.
purposely pushes in content. So I guess a very nice and very easy human approach to the whole thing would be to have a strategic time blocked for it, and then indulge in it fully, like deep work in social media, in FB, in Instagram for whatever time, but a limited time for it. I guess then it will not be a distraction, and then you don't even feel the FOMO or fear of missing out on things, because that's a
So,
bigger
but
fear that we have
so
inherited.
Pradeep, you've already reached the evolved state.
No, I guess it's been through practice. It's just
oh
been through
yeah,
practice.
Correct. So you've already reached an evolved state. I think I am personally, I think, still struggling with the initial stages.
So I had a question to ask Gaurang around this evolved state, or Pradeep, or anyone else. In the deep work, so I got introduced it through a workshop, and then I got to know about the book. Although
yeah,
that person mentioned about the book in the workshop. So what I've seen is that to maintain it consistently, okay, and it was very explained very nicely, in the workshop. Like you have 3 slots of 90 minutes and 2 talk sessions of 45 minutes calls, everything. How's your experience or anyone else's experience to do it on consistent level?
okay.
Because that's one of the things that people struggle. And then I'll share my experiences with my coaches.
Yeah, so from my side, you are right. And as I mentioned, some of the practices I was able to do when they became my habit. So like, for example, this social media, I was also very highly active. But now there are some Facebook like apps. I don't go actually, no, very regularly. I do go once in a month or some meeting, some event happens in my family or friends. So that has become an habit, and I don't need to do it very cautiously now. Some of the things need, as a book has mentioned, is the strategizing. So how is your work and life placed actually? That if you are able to not follow basically your life the way you want to achieve your life purpose or goal, then you will not be able to bring the deep work into the picture. Because another motivation for doing deep work consistently is the outcome which you get from it, right? Like if you have given the qualitative deep work hours, the outcome will be different, and that outcome will only motivate you to do a further deep work. So whenever I have done that qualitative deep work, I have realized the importance of it, and I've gone with it. I've not, there have been times where I've not been able to do deep work because of the work demands or the family demands, but then I have come back again and again to it actually. So that's where the consistency lies from my side.
Because why I was asking was because I've had an experience on doing with the people, because people want to achieve some goals and all. So I tell them that the first thing is to build consistency in actions. Like, for example, and I have seen generally, with one odd exception here or there, that most diligent person can't go more than 60% consistency.
Yeah.
Even just over 30 days in a simple work like getting up in the morning or simple thing like that. And most of the people, I think, drop off after anywhere between 6 to 10 days. Then, yeah, Shweta.
So I'll just share from my personal experience. I think this is something that we all battle with, both personally and for our coaches, right? In terms of how do we really make it work. And I think I read this term, I don't remember where I read this, but there is this term called flexible consistency, right? So you aim for consistency and you do it whenever possible, all the times possible. But if it doesn't happen, it is all right. You figure out how to get back on it again, right? So a lot of times, personally, we think of perfectionism, right? So either we do it all the time or we just don't do it at all. So instead of doing this way or the other, setting ourselves up for flexible consistency, that when we can do it, we'll do it. And when we don't, we modify our approach towards doing it, right? So just to give you an example, when I started off after reading Deep Work a year ago, I decided a rigid schedule of, Tuesdays and Fridays will be coaching days. Mondays and Wednesdays will be my deep work days, where I will only focus on, either writing a book or whatever it is that I'm doing. And what happened was, within a few weeks, that tumbled, right? Because it's very difficult to schedule all your coaching calls on just 2 days a week. It's very difficult to schedule your, just when you want to do your deep work, there are meeting requests which you cannot deny, right? So what I then realized is that I need to keep tweaking it continuously, right? So while it's great that one thing that I have is like 5 to 6:30 a.m. is a deep work that I do every day, which is in my control and that can be done every single time. So that is something that I can continue. But the other things, I basically tweak it weekly. For example, every Sunday, I try to figure out what is the schedule I can actually maintain for this week, which is realistic, practical, and doable. And flexibly modified based on how your routines change. And I've not lost my sanity yet trying to do that. If I can say that, it's still a work in progress.
I'll share what I know. Thanks for sharing. So I'll tell you what I eventually ended up doing with quite a few of my coaching clients. Maybe you can also use. I realized that going after consistency is not the thing. Main thing is to show them the trend line. If they were doing it once in a week, and if they're able to do it 3 times a week, that is more important instead of getting into, because that is, unless you're a German or somebody, it's just, at least in India, it is generally difficult for people. So showing a trend line helps to the people.
I think to add to that, Sandeep, what I have noticed, so change in a routine or anything that new that you want to do is always tough, right? Say it with all the resolutions and everything that we kind of say that we will do. Cognitively, I think we're all very convinced that's the right thing to do, but something happens, and that's this huge debate that we hear about, right? The biology of belief, the immunity to change, and all these. I think books have written reams and reams of research on that. But I think the important thing that I have realized to kind of be easy on self and actually just show up, right? So if I say that I'm going to walk for 30 minutes every day, even if I do 20 or even if I do 10 one day, or even if I just do something at home the other day and not actually go whole hog, I should be able to kind of go easy on myself and say, at least I did it, at least I showed up, right? So
Yeah.
I guess that's something that we, I think, need to at times also be easy on self, to not beat us down so hard that we completely say ki nahi ho raha hai mujhse, and I'll forget about it. Right? So
Yeah, and also
yeah.
I think these authors have spent a lot of years in researching. So it's
Yeah.
like we're directly going to PhD. So in the school
Yes.
also we go to first class, fourth class. So we should practice consistency in basic things like exercising for 10 minutes a day. Before we get into these, I think we directly jump it. That's why I think we don't do it over a long period of time.
I think we should
Everything
do
or nothing. I think, yeah, we want to do everything or nothing, right?
And most
So,
complex, these are pretty complex things, what they
Yeah.
found out. So, but
The other thought that came to me is the last 10 minutes we were speaking a lot about habits, right? And in fact, when that
Yes.
form came up, I suggested we do Atomic Habits as a book, perhaps.
Yes.
But you know, the other side of what Gaurang presented from the book, not just the habit formation, but the actual deepness. When you do manage to have those minutes of deep work, how deep is your deep work? And for me, the deepest work that I do, and I suspect it might be true for everyone on this call, the deepest, most focused I am is when I'm present in a coaching session. I can't think of any other time in my waking day when I'm as focused and deep. And I'm really curious, do any of you do anything else which you feel is as deep and focused as when you are in the service of the client? I can't think of anything.
writing is for me, but I get your point that that presence is something else when you're a coach.
May I share something?
Yes, Venkat, go ahead. You can also come on camera. We'll love to see you.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Nimra.
And if we can also want to do our customary photos, then yes, I can invite everybody to come on camera.
Am I visible? I can't see myself.
Not as yet.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Couple of things. When Gaurang was actually talking about Vachaspati in the first slide, there is actually an example before, much before Vachaspati. It says that when Vyasa and Ganesha sat down to write the Mahabharata, they were distracted by the sound of the river Saraswati. So Vyasa actually requested Saraswati to flow more gently. She wouldn't listen. So he actually suppressed her below the earth. That's why the river Saraswati is not visible anymore. You know, that's a story.
Wow.
The second thing I want to talk about was this concept of flow, which is a book written by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. In a lot of ways, it resonates with this deep work as well, because when you're doing deep work, you find yourself in a state of flow most times. And to answer the question asked by, I don't know, was it Pradeep or somebody, Sandeep, I'm not sure. I get into that state when I do painting also. So when I paint, I'm in that state of deep work or the state of flow, just to share.
So I'm waiting on Sarita, then we can take this photo and we can continue our discussion. I think we are just out of time. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
There's somebody
Okay.
at the door, so I had to just get up.
All right. So what should we say? Peekaboo, or we should say book, or what should we say?
Gaurang.
We can all say Gaurang.
All right, Gaurang.
Gaurang.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I think all of you have given us so much of energy and joy for just showing up. So thank you so much for that. And yes, we do have the announcement for the next book. So Shweta, over to you.
Yes, I just shared it so that everybody knows that we have the next book decided. So Mala Hemnani, another ICF Mumbai member, is actually going to be presenting it for us. And we're going to be talking about the $1 Trillion Coach. That's the book. And May 4th, same time, 4 to 5 p.m.
Super. And thanks, Gaurang. It is amazing presentation. I think for other people, it will be a tough act to follow after you presented. It was really good.
Thank you for giving the opportunity. I also
Gaurang has set the bar too high now.
I think
so we are also kind of looking at kind of expanding this. So we do have a good collection of books already. So please continue to kind of message us, email us, and tell us what are the other titles, books, authors that you would like to kind of participate in. We would love to have you read these books and also come in, because then the conversation and discussion becomes so much more richer. And I can't thank Shweta and Gaurang for putting in so much of deep work to getting this deep work discussion off the ground for us. So thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. Look
Thank
forward to seeing you for the next session.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurang.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you,
Pleasure
everyone.
being with all of you. See you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.